Hello, it's Phillip Taylor speaking from Richmond Green Chambers in London, and today I'm looking at Archbold 2019. It's a pleasure to review this book again. I've reviewed it in the past over the decades, used it extensively in court of course over the years, and I'm delighted to be able to look at this latest edition. Let me explain what you're getting with this, because apart from any online links, you're getting three actual books as part of the package. It's the main book is this one, which is Archbold 2019, Criminal Pleading, Evidence and Practice, that thing there with all the names of the people, published of course by Sweden Maxwell Thomson Reuters. The general editor, His Honour Judge Mark Lucraft, Queen's Counsel, he's taken over. You've, in addition to that book, got sentencing guidelines and the first supplement to the 2019 edition. And what I've called this title, this is quite a long review that I've written for this particular book, and there's a reason for it, because there's a lot in it, and it should be, I hope it will be on a number of the legal blog websites and of course in the journals. I've given it a title, New Edition, New Editor, New Approach. So it's New Edition, New Editor, New Approach, because that's what we've got. And I'll come on to the reasons for that in a minute. Let's look at it first of all. This is the current Archbold. Very heavy, of course. Shaded areas to find things quite quickly. The back of it, let's just go through. It is one edition. Remember, you've got a lot of information on the inside covers. The inside back cover is model indictments, very helpful. The front, you've got useful reference material, and you've also got a quick guide to Archbold there to find things, because it's a very, very complex subject matter. It's a very heavy book as well. The pages, there are some notes which you can use right at the back. The pages, of course, as usual, are quite thin. Now, this is the back of the book. There's some notes, blank pages for notes. There's the back of the book. You can see it's 3,540 odd pages. Okay, this is just the main work. It's a very heavy book. The actual in the index, the actual references are to paragraph numbers. Now, you can see even now that you've got a very substantial index. The index is there. It runs very much in the standard frame of the legal taxonomy, which Sweden Maxwell runs. So it tells you how to find things quite quickly, because again, this is a very substantial work, and it's the main work, of course, in the courts. There's the paragraph numbering, you can see right at the back, and a huge amount of information. Now, at the front of the book, remember it's now published annually, the front of the book has a front page. Now, there's the front page. I'm just going to take that out. You can see the front page there, and you can see some acknowledgements. There's the acknowledgements, there's the front page there, and that's set up. Then you've got a list of all the previous people involved. And of course, the person who I've been following, basically for a very long period of time now, is P.J. Richardson, who took over as editor in 1992. And before him, we had a whole range of different people. I don't want to go back too far, because I'm declaring how old I am then. I don't want to do that. Now, here's the general editor, new structure. You can see the general editor, and then you've got what's called a judicial board, and then contributing editors. So there's been basically restructuring of how the book is produced, and then after that you've got the actual preface to the new edition, and then you've got the table of contents. And I want to show this because this is for people who don't know Archbold very well. You can see all the information there, and then you can see how much. You've then got the table of statutes after the contents, and then after statutes, a lot of statutory instruments, of course. And then after that, you've got the tables of cases. Very, very substantial number of cases running on for a long period of time. Let's get to the very first page of Archbold itself. When you get right to the end of the table of cases, you do have non-UK cases, of course, as well. There are a few. Then, of course, you've got something quite useful, practice directions. Again, because we now have the criminals practice. Of course. Then you've got after that, chapter 1, the indictment. And you see what you've got is very much the house style. You've got the actual index for the chapter. so that the content section at the beginning is very, very short, because you should be able to find what you're looking for quite quickly. And of course you do have these areas which are tabbed, and of course as you use the book in the courts you will be using post-it notes to find what you're looking for. You can see the structure anyway all the way through. It has been quite extensively edited since I last looked at it in some detail, because my main practice is no longer in the criminal jurisdiction, but I do keep an eye on what is going on. You can see the basic structure. That's a very heavy book. There's the book itself. Now, in addition to that, you've got the sentencing guidelines there. That's the front, spine, and then the back. And the sentencing guidelines are very helpful. They give you the tariffs all the way through. I'm not going to go into too much detail with that because that's separate. It gives you, for instance, I'm just taking this health and safety offences. I used to prosecute those. You can see it gives you the tariff, and it gives you a fairly good idea of where you are. Basically, every single possible offence. Then in addition to that, that's the guidelines, you've then got the first supplement which comes out, because by the time that this is published, we've already got the need for new supplementary information, because new cases have come up and new changes have taken place. And so you do need those three immediately just to keep us going. This came out in the autumn of 2018, and I'm reviewing it at the beginning of 2019. And that, as I say, is a quick guide to Archbold and to the criminal procedure rules. I think that's very helpful. Again, I say that for people who are relatively new to this publication. Now, let me talk about the book. So, say the heading, we've given it new edition, new editor, new approach. Yes, the publishers, judges and practitioners have listened to the 2018 advice for Archbold 2019, and we can dramatically announce that although the game of tomes is not over yet for the criminal bar, the new Archbold 2019 has established its excellence again and remains the most fully comprehensive criminal practice book for current practitioners. And I don't say that lightly. That is certainly my view, and I believe that's the view of the majority of people practicing. We don't say it lightly, as I say, because we all know the competition is keen. So are you an Archbold Remainer or a Blackstone Remainer in 2019? Because that's the question. The answer, of course, remains that we're both. Because actually you've got to have both of these books to get the balance. I know it costs more money, but it's actually better in the long term. That's really what I've been doing, and that's what I advised on the last occasion, although I'm very impressed with the new Archbold. Because whilst I say the answer remains, of course, yes, Mark Lucraft has assumed the general editorship after what are called the Richardson years, 1992 to 2018, and what Mr. Lucraft has done is he's overhauled the work brilliantly with his new team, and he explains in the preface what he's been up to. It's needed for the one-year trial period for a programme for every Crown Court in England and Wales is now underway, which means it's providing us with copies of both Archbold and Blackstone, so the courts are getting both. And the battle over which shall be the Bible of choice for the criminal jurisdiction continues, of course, to divide opinion, but do consider our current submissions on the viability of Archbold over Blackstone this year. And there's nothing personal with OUP, but I think what Lucraft has done, would be to commend it for it, is he's taken everything very clearly and said, right, we've got to modernise, and that's what he's done. Because frankly, I'm a bit blunt, in the past, Archbold did get to be rather pedantic and difficult to use, and that's really why Blackstone came along. And I saw the difference over the years in my practice. Now, we're reminded that some historically unfavourable, plain rude comments about Archbold surfaced in the 1930s. I'm going back a bit now. This is thanks to the Times law brief section, when the chief snipe of the time, Charters Byron, reportedly said he'd been told, really hearsay, that, quote, half of Archbold tells you what the law is not, and the other half conceals what it is. Fortunately for criminal lawyers in 2019, times have changed for this main work and most of our other common law library titles. Now, I'm Byron, in my view, is being a little unfair, to say the least. But I would say to you, having used Archbold and seen it since the early 70s, that there had been need for substantial change again, and we're getting it. So I'm just letting you know that. Byron is also quoted as saying that there was little money in a law book, correct, because of the print run and readership, and that many of them are very bad. And I'm afraid again he was right. Those who read law from the late 1960s onwards could easily concur, specifically with landlord texts, for instance, but we wouldn't dream, of course, of criticising our introductory Smith and Hogan, although it could be difficult to read as well at times. And I'm not going to mention the landlord publications. We know them. You as undergraduates will know them, and we know that they were difficult, which is why we've had a breath of fresh air, and it's thanks to people like the guys at Sweet and Maxwell that we've actually got much more readable publications, and I think that's helpful to everybody. Byron's view was that whilst Archbold was originally a great book, he said much of it now has only an historical interest, concluding that no law publisher would pay enough to have it rewritten so that the new matter is interspersed with the old. Well, that was in the 30s, a long time ago now, but you see what he's been saying then. That's why, as I say, indeed and thankfully, times have changed. Lucraft and the publishers have introduced a judicial board to build on the links with the judiciary with an expanded, broadened and experienced writing team. Now that makes sense because who's using the book? The judges, and of course us as the bewigged lawyers in court. Extensive updating has taken place, of course, including the sentencing guidelines. This is, as I say, the publication I talked about there, that one there. Very highly controversial. They provided a popular addition to the service, which is what they're saying, and I agree with that. And of course the updating service, which of course is the supplements, which keeps us as up to date as we can be with changes. Because remember, as counsel, we really have got to keep our eyes very keenly focused on what changes have taken place recently. And of course the updating service is helpful. For the service is what you now get as subscribers' feedback has been actioned, because there have been comments about the difficulties, and obviously further improvements to the look and the feel of the edition are now, in my view, very, very noticeable, and I thank, as I say, Mr. Lucraft and his colleagues for it. We particularly like the thumb tabs with chapter numbers, which have been added to include navigation on what is a monumental tome. I do think that actually helps. Now, the reviewing already is well underway for this publication, and I'm sure it will continue as we approach the 200th anniversary of Archbold, which presumably will be in 2022. So if practitioners have any comments, they should email the publishers. That's at archbold@thomsonreuters.com, because as we get to the 200th anniversary from 1822, obviously they are looking very much at what comments come back, so that they can make the service easier for all, because it really is not the easiest subject to understand. It's very complex, just like the civil side, and it's getting more so. So therefore any help we can get is appreciated. The large numbers of people who are now involved, of course, many of course who are new to the book, have offered their help, time and input to modernise the work, and it's a great success in our view, because that hard work has paid off. And I think the final word must go to Mr. Lucraft, who concludes his first editorial year with these comments, quote, "This year more than any year, the 2019 edition has only been possible due to the commitment and energy of the whole team." And that's what he's built up, and thank you for that. Let me conclude. It's clear that there is a great teamwork involved here and profound expertise, which describes publication of the new Archbold as an achievement which we can all be justifiably proud, and I'm sure they are. I am, because I think this is a very important turning point, I think, this year. And likewise, we as practitioners are proud of the new edition ourselves. It upholds one of the greatest of all our practitioner works for the modern age, and I think we should be very glad to have it for 2019, in the knowledge that the judiciary have it and support it as well. And of course the book was published on the 5th of October 2018. I'm very grateful it's come out. One last look, this is a long review this one, but one last look at Archbold. There it is, front, side with all the contributors, a lot of people, the main contributors. You can see all the little tabs there, very helpful. Let's just open it in the middle to give you an idea. Here we go. Rules of evidence and questioning witnesses. You can see again, follows very much the standard of what you're looking for. Everything you want is in there. That was the thing I made a comment about some years ago, and that was I did feel that Archbold always had complete coverage, and with great respect to Blackstone, there were some things missing. Now, I don't know that that's necessarily true today, but I do think that what we now have, although this is a very substantial work, and you've got both the updating, the supplements, and of course separately now the sentencing to complement banks on sentencing, but you've got those as well, and I do feel that we are moving forward, and what you're looking for will be there somewhere. It just takes a bit of time. Finally, thank you to everybody for this, especially to the team at Sweet and Maxwell Thomson Reuters for continuing to give us a tremendous amount of help. This is not an easy jurisdiction at all, and this does make our lives easier. Thank you very much to everybody. Bye-bye.